Hello viewers, I am LAKSHMI PADMANABHAN. Welcome to Gandhi Hacks in South Africa, and thank you very much for being with me on this long journey. We have been traveling with the Mahatma, the greatest man of the 20th century, as he is acknowledged as. Now this episode I have named the second coming. Partly for the attraction of the expression the second coming, its associations, but you can interrogate this title. The word coming, for example, was it a coming or was it a going? Now coming and going are two sides of the same coin. For the Indians, the relatives of Gandhi, it was a going, but for the Indians in South Africa, it was a coming. And then as to the word second, technically it was not the second time that Gandhi was going to South Africa. It was actually the third time. But as the leader of his people, it was the second coming. And so thus I justify my title. Now the purpose of the journey gains more seriousness at this juncture, and Gandhi had to evolve a new strategy, a new kind of battle against the government in South Africa. Now the fight was not intended to hurt the opponent. It was not to beat the opponent that the fight was started. It was merely to raise the awareness of the opponent about the injustices that were being perpetrated. So it was not to beat the opponent, but be beaten. At the same time, stick to your guns, fight violence with non-violence. So that was the theme of the new battle. The specific reason to recall Gandhi to South Africa was the proposed visit of Joseph Chamberlain, the Secretary of State for the Colonies, to South Africa. In the context of British victory, it was essential that Mohandas Gandhi was there in South Africa to meet Chamberlain and present the demands of the Indians before him. Hence the cable message to start immediately. Gandhi was bound to go back because he had given them a promise that if and when they needed his presence there, he would return. And so he was ready, but this time he did not take Kasurba with him. Instead, he took a few young men with him. What he felt was that smart young men who had no opportunities in India should cross the seas and try their fortune there. As somebody who had done that in his own life, he had tasted the joys, he had tasted the possibilities of being a pravasi, of a person who had tried his luck elsewhere and succeeded. So he wanted these men also to taste the fruits of being elsewhere. One of those young men whom he took with him was Magan Lal Gandhi, his uncle's grandson. Now, as it turned out, Magan Lal became Gandhi's alter ego. They started out in the last week of November 1902 and reached by the third week of December. The mayor had arranged a meeting of the Indian delegates with Chamberlain. The leader of the delegation was, of course, Gandhi, who submitted a petition to Chamberlain regarding the Licensing Act. The Licensing Act affected the Asians. According to the Licensing Act, they were not free to do their business or live in several areas of South Africa. Gandhi's appeal, or the Indians' appeal, was that Indians should be exempted from this law, which applied to all Asians. Another demand in the petition was that the Indians should be allowed to establish schools for Indian children. There were other demands as well, but Chamberlain did not listen to these demands with any sympathy. What he told them was that your complaints are genuine, your grievances are genuine, but the imperial government cannot do anything in the case of self-governed colonies. See, now the four provinces have become self-governing colonies. So the imperial government cannot do anything about it. So you have to live according to the rules set here by the white people. They are the majority. You have to listen to them and you have to obey them. We cannot do anything regarding it. Thus, Chamberlain washed his hands off the business. He made it all very clear. He had come to South Africa to collect the 35 million pounds that were given to him from here, and to win the hearts of the Boers and the Britons. Remember, the Boers and Britons were at each other's throats quite a while ago. They fought a very big war and the Indians had helped the Britons. But Chamberlain behaved as though none of this had happened. During the time of the war, the Indians were very important. But after the war, they were not at all important for the Brits. It was an eye-opener. We have to start our work all over again. We don't have guns. We don't have the force of arms. So we have to find another way to fight this injustice. Chamberlain left for the Transvaal. There also people wanted to present him with petitions, with their demands. Gandhi had prepared the petition, but he needed a permit to cross over to Transvaal. Now the permit was actually to be given by the Asiatic Department, but the Asiatic Department would never allow the permit to Gandhi. So he had to try other means to get it, and he did get it with the help of his close friend Alexander. Remember, the superintendent of police in Durban. So he had the permit. And the Asiatic Department was surprised to find that this man had the permit. They were happy to arrest him if he did not have the permit. But unfortunately for them, he did have the permit. Now they had to use another trick to deprive him of the chance to meet Chamberlain in the Transvaal. So they said, there is no need for you to meet the Secretary of State again. You had already met him. So we are not including your name in the list of people who are going to meet Chamberlain. So this way he was deprived of the opportunity to speak to Chamberlain again in the Transvaal. It was okay. He delegated the task to another efficient barrister, another Indian barrister. Now the same kind of petition was to be given in other provinces as well, but Chamberlain's attitude to all of these was one of great indifference. He did not entertain any of these petitions. Something that was pointed out in the petitions was the condition of the Indians in South Africa. After the war, after the victory of Britain, the condition has become much worse than it was before. And the petition made an appeal to the government to ensure that the Indians enjoyed the right. They enjoyed the liberty to live, to do business, to own property anywhere in South Africa. But none of this was entertained, and it was not listened to sympathetically at all by Chamberlain. None of the petitions had any impact, and this really unsettled the Indians. Some of them turned against Gandhi. On your advice, we fought with the British. We helped in the war effort. Now what did we get in return? We got nothing. We are still in the same old position. Now to this, Gandhi's answer was, see, I do not regret helping Britain in the war. The fruits of what we did, we are going to reap later. We may not get it today, but we might get it tomorrow. Let us not waste our time on what happened yesterday. Let us concentrate on what we need to do next in order to fight this crisis that has come out of this licensing act. Now the mission for which you have called me is over. The mission of meeting Chamberlain and submitting the petitions. But even if you let me go now, I am not going to leave South Africa. I am going to shift from Natal to the Transvaal because tasks are to be done now. There are new things that need to be addressed. I need to take the permission to practice in the High Court of the Transvaal. I need to tackle the Asiatic Department, which is causing a lot of problems for the Indians. After consulting the Indians in Johannesburg and Pretoria, Mohandas Gandhi decided to have his office in Johannesburg. Getting the permit to practice in the High Court of the Transvaal was quite easy, as he already had experience of practicing in 3 other courts, the latest being the Supreme Court of Natal. He could get office rooms in the legal quarters themselves through the influence of his friend Mr. Rich. Before we get into the career aspects of Mohandas Gandhi in the Transvaal, but the struggle on behalf of the Indian immigrants would be stepped up soon. But before that, I would like to draw your attention to what Bapu writes about some of the other aspects of his life during this period. They are quite fascinating. They are all connected to lifestyle matters. What they are, we will see in the next episode. Thank you.